All right, we are live. Thanks for tuning into the Sheet Metal Shaping podcast, where we discuss the pursuit of sheet metal shaping education through traditional coach building techniques. My guest today on the show is Harry Deetlefs, all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Ryan?
I'm very well. I'm very excited for this. Your Instagram and your work is absolutely spectacular.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Had a lot of there's a lot of guys you've had on your show that I look really up to as well. So it's quite nice.
Awesome. It's a circle of life.
To be on this. Yeah.
Before we kick it off and tell the folks a little bit about yourself, what we're going to run through for today on the show is I want to find out how you got started. Super important. I also want to talk about two of the builds that you have completed in the past. One is the Jaguar C-type build, and the other is an absolutely stunning, gorgeous, arguably my favorite car is the Ferrari 65 TRC. So super excited to talk about those. But yeah, let's get rolling. Tell the folks a bit about yourself and how you came to be.
Okay, well, I actually started during school and school holidays working with old panel beaters here in Joburg. So just picking up some skills and, well, you know, being an apprentice, you just got to pick up everything and clean everything and get smacked on the head. But yeah, learned how to start doing some collision repair, panel beating. And then after school, took to my own projects. Started working on my own projects because, you know, you don't have money after school. You're busy messing around doing other stuff. So,
yeah.
And then it grew from there. I went over to America for a while, went to Ray Shalene.
I know Ray Shalene very well.
Yeah, lovely guy.
Yeah.
Great skills.
Yeah.
And just started growing from there. Started my business about 8 years ago. And it's grown from there. It's started with rust work. I think that's where everyone starts out.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to have a client that believed in me and let me build his 65 TRC. And yeah, it's just grown from there. Now we don't do any more rust work. We just build full aluminium bodies.
Wow. That's like, for a lot of people, that's the dream. Right? No more rust work, no collision, no smash repair, just straight coach building the finest vehicles on planet Earth.
Very lucky to have gotten into it. Very, very lucky. I don't know what I did right, but it's working.
Yeah. Did you have a passion in the skilled trades or in sheet metal or welding as a kid, or how did this kind of evolve?
Yeah, I've always had a passion with cars specifically. And fiddling, tinkering with stuff, trying to make stuff, trying to break stuff. And creating, I think that was the main thing. I've never been an artist on paper, but I've been somewhat artistic when it comes to making things, and I could express it in sheet metal. So that was quite a cool thing to do.
So you're an artisan at heart.
I try to be. I think I am, but probably I don't look like it. But I love the shapes. I love the whole look of something when it's done, when it's come out of your head, or the 60s, 50s cars, that era, 40s, beautiful cars there.
Oh my gosh. Some of the finest automobiles were in that 30-year period. They're just timeless.
There is nothing till today that looks like that. Nothing.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the automobile has evolved in the manner that it has? Like, do you think it's like safety, design, function? Like, what do you think has changed the design of the automobile such that it's so different than what we saw years ago?
I think it's production. I think now it's just about money. Back then, you still had a lot of artisans building these cars by hand.
Yeah.
And designing these cars by hand. So I think that's why that era, that 40s, 50s, 60s era had such beautiful shapes. It's almost like it has a soul. It's alive. Yeah. Where today it's like a cell phone. The cars of today, it's a throwaway sort of thing.
I saw you in a video. I forget if it was YouTube or an Instagram interview, but it was a video and you were being interviewed by somebody, and you had reiterated like 2 or 3 times in this interview. You said like cars have to have a soul. Cars of this era had a soul. And when you're building them by hand, that soul is really, brought to the forefront versus modern times. Do you remember that interview or that clip that I was talking about?
I do. I remember that. Yes, it's true. I believe it. I believe that everything that you build, I mean, there's so many amazing coach builders out there. And if you have a look at their work, regardless of, they're top level.
Sure.
You can see a little bit of them in everything, regardless of what car they're building.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly why those cars of that era look, and still timeless shapes, look and feel so amazing. It's because they have a bit of those person souls in it. So
Very true. Some blood, sweat, and tears, no doubt.
100%. I think we've all gone down that road with the blood, sweat, and tears of these cars.
So you said you opened your shop 8 years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. How did that look when you first got rolling?
Oh man, a tiny little shop with a few hand tools and a handmade Englishwheel.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could fit like 3 cars maybe in it.
Yep.
And then it kind of grew out of control after a while. My shop in Johannesburg got incredibly big with a lot of people working for me. Mm-hmm. And it kind of tapered off into doing finishing builds. So basically hand building the body, painting the body, assembling the car and sending it out. Which was great, but my true passion is building the bodies. That's what I specialize in, and I love building the bodies and trying to make them as perfect as I possibly can.
Isn't it so important to really specialize in what you're doing? Like you say, this is where my services start and this is where my services stop. And you're like, I don't want to deal with the mechanicals. I don't want to deal with whatever. I just want to make metal beautiful. Like, is that fair to say?
100%. If you start branching out into all the other aspects of the build, you kind of dilute what you specialize in. So it just becomes, it's good enough. You don't want that. Right. You want it to be perfect. And I don't think I've ever built a car that I think is perfect. I can find 100 faults in it. So.
Even the originals though, like if you measure from side to side, I've had people on the show talking about this in the past too. Like if you measure from side to side on an original Ferrari, like they could be out by 3/4 of an inch or something. And I mean,
huge.
You'd never know unless you really see it. And if you really see it, then it's got to be really off, right? But I mean, like your work is phenomenal. Like anybody that's seen the photos on your Instagram, it's got to be like mind blown.
Thank you. I still think there's a lot of guys out there that I still aspire to be like.
Is it a pursuit? Is there ever perfection for you?
No, I don't think for any of us there is. I think every time we look at something we make, we say we can do it better. We can do it cleaner. I don't think I'll ever find perfection, but I think that's the best part about it is you strive every day. You learn to try and get better and better.
Right. Right. And for your shop, are you the only person in the shop now, or do you still have some employees from the previous location?
Yeah. So I have 3 apprentices.
Cool.
That I've been teaching for 2 years now to do metal shaping. And the nice thing is they're young guys. I think the oldest guy is 25. With no experience before. The one guy didn't even know what an angle grinder was.
Oh, no way. Wow.
And you must see the panels they can knock out now. It is phenomenal to see young kids doing it. So
that's cool. I love that you've got apprentices learning from you. It's not just a matter of like, let's just get the car out the door. It's like, no, let me show somebody else the way so they can follow in my footsteps. That's super cool.
I think with the older generation of coach builders, they kind of hold all their skills to themselves. And essentially it dies with them. What's going to happen to the rest? Everyone needs to know this beautiful skill and learn and keep it going. I don't want to die with the skills. And there's that saying, rising tides float all ships.
Yes.
So the more people out there, the better for everyone.
Do you think there's more work than anybody could handle to go around? Or do you think that the work is getting scarce?
No, I think there's quite a lot of work out there. I think there's a massive demand lately for bespoke cars. I think because life has become so mundane, people are looking at the more bespoke things in life, and the cars are like that too.
That's because they have a soul.
Yeah. I do believe that, yeah.
Are you a hammer guy? Are you English wheel guy? What do you prefer?
I'm a wheel guy.
Yeah.
Look, in all honesty, ignorance is bliss. I've never had a power hammer. I used a little bit of power hammer at Ray Shalene and a couple of other guys. I thought it was great, but I'm not that good at it. So I've been wanting to build my own. I've actually been speaking to Brian. I think you had him on your show.
Brian who?
What's my surname now? I can't remember. He built a power hammer.
Okay.
The 13,000 pound power hammer.
Oh yeah. That was a recent episode. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. and been chatting to him about building one similar to his.
Very cool.
So,
very
but
cool.
I'm
Man,
more of an English style sort of guy. I wheel a lot.
13,000 pounds. That is one heavy machine.
I couldn't imagine how nice that must feel, that power.
Just a solid thud every time that die comes down. Bang. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, English wheel. I mean, there's something to be said for the methodicalness, if that's a word. Like just the smooth, methodical, nice and quiet, of an English wheel. And the panels come off beautiful and shiny every time.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Look, I do block a lot. Obviously, speed is of the essence.
Sure.
So I end up blocking quite a bit and then finishing, well, I wouldn't say. I'd block about 60, 70% and then put the rest of the shape in with the wheel.
Yeah.
So
When you're shrinking, if you're not a power hammer guy, how do you prefer to shrink?
I shrink by hand a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shrink the old methods in a stump, big shrinks, that sort of thing. I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
I do have dies. I have shrinking dies in my pullmax and stuff like that, but it mars the material, it mars the aluminium, and it's very difficult to get that marring out. So
yeah. You're an aluminum guy primarily, or do you work with steel too?
I do work with steel, but I prefer aluminium. I love aluminium.
What is it about aluminum that really does it for you versus that of steel?
Jeez. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just think
really?
It's easier to work with. And a lot of people are afraid of aluminium, like not the top coach builders, but a lot of people are scared of oxyacetylene welding aluminium. A lot of people don't even know about that in South Africa.
Sure.
So I don't know. I enjoy working with aluminium. It's a nice material to work with.
It is. You know what's the best is that it just doesn't rust. So if it sits around for a little bit, you're good. That's my favorite part. Good.
Your paws don't leave any fingerprints on it or anything like that. So.
Yeah, man, it's the worst. Like you get a good humid day and you come in and a steel panel's all rusted over and you're like, gotta start again. Dust it off. Jeez, it's the worst, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm with you there. Aluminium doesn't rust. And also every time you touch a panel with your bare hands, steel, it rusts in those spots. So
that's right.
Aluminium, you just wipe it off.
Let's branch into your Jaguar C-type build. Tell me about this. This car was absolutely stunning.
It was a client also that approached me that wanted to build one, and he had a couple of fiberglass molds of the vehicle, and this is where it actually came in, where the differences between the left and the right of a vehicle.
Oh yeah,
how out they are, and that is the fun part, recreating the differences.
Yeah, that's true.
And you could see it if you look really closely. You can see that the left side is slightly more bulbous than the right side. There by the headlights and stuff like that. And that was the trick to it. So yeah, it was a long. The research was the hardest part about it.
Which part?
Trying to research, trying to get the inners of the vehicle, photos of the inners. And stuff like that, because we had to try and recreate this car out of basically pictures.
Really?
Yeah. So we worked out the size from the pictures. We worked out how big the heads of the rivets were, and then the spacing between the rivets. And it was interesting because no car was the same.
Wow. So you tried to be like as dialed in and as perfect as you could possibly get historically.
Yeah. We tried, even to the point where we had the little glove box by the driver's side that had the 6 spark plugs in it.
Yep.
So we went all out with it.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. So this fiberglass was a replica, like it was a mold pulled from something else, maybe from an original, or?
Apparently this mold was pulled from an original. I don't know, but it kind of seemed to play in that because nothing lined up.
Really?
And the original C-type, there by the fenders that they meet the sills at the back of the front wheels, it didn't line up. And it was out by, I think it was 1/2 inch on one side.
Yep.
So all the little things on it kind of showed me that it might have been off an original car.
So on the original cars, were they race cars or street cars or both?
Race cars.
Race
They
cars. So
were
like, is it
racing.
conceivable that stuff didn't line up on the original too? It was just like, get it together,
No,
get it on the track.
no, 100%. Nothing lined up. That's how you can see the difference between fiberglass plugs and aluminium cars.
Right.
Is nothing lines up on a aluminium car, but everything lines up on a fiberglass car.
Right. Right. That's interesting to see that, because I mean, a lot of people think they see a photo and they go, that car must be perfect. Right.
Oh, no,
But like,
far from it.
that's not always the case. Instagram lies, Google searches don't tell the truth, the whole truth all the time.
They leave out those little parts.
For sure. So like when we're doing these cars, where do you start? You start with photos, you start with the fiberglass mold. Like where do you go from there? How do you start pulling patterns from this to make it happen?
I use paper patterns quite often.
Do you?
Yes. So I'll make paper patterns or use Array's flexible shape pattern.
Yeah. Do you like it?
I do for certain things.
Mhm.
But the one thing is, you get into that little pickle where you look at a shape and you think, how am I going to approach this?
Yeah.
I think there's nothing better than paper patterns.
Yep.
Because you'll know where to shrink, you'll know where to stretch, and you can work out your plan from there.
Gotcha.
But the flexible shape patterns help that you don't overdevelop.
Right. Gotcha. So they don't really necessarily tell you where to shrink or stretch directly. Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah. So it'll kind of tell you what sort of shape you need.
Mhm.
And not to go over it, but when you're trying to really get in there and get intricate and get fast, you don't want to be shrinking, stretching. You just want to make sure you get it done the right way one time.
Gotcha.
So that's where the paper template really helps.
Gotcha. Can you pretty much see a shape now from eye? Like you just eyeball and you go, you know what? I think I know how to make that. Or do you always go for the paper?
No. Most shapes are now, I'm quite lucky to have a bit of an eye. I'll shape it. Funny enough, I won't go near a buck or anything till I'm about 60, 70% done.
Oh, wow.
And then I'll tweak it after that.
That's insane, man. You're the best.
No. I think, there's a lot of guys that do the same. I think they even take it further. Yeah.
It's such an acquired skill. It's really incredible that somebody can see, where are the shadow lines, where are the highlight lines? Okay. You know what? Hit here, fold here, bend this over your knee, stretch this out, boom, pops right on. You're like, oh my God, how did that happen? Like, that's amazing.
Do you remember when you started out? You'd have a look at a guy shaping a panel and he'd just go, okay, well, this just needs a bit of a tweak. Bend it over his knee and it's fitting.
Yeah.
I was the same. I was like, how the hell did this guy do that?
For sure.
But I think with practice, you kind of get to that point where you know what you need to do. You've got enough shape. All you now need to do is manipulate it to a different place.
Yeah, absolutely. How many hours did you spend building this car?
The C-type, I didn't work on it full time. I'd say 6 months.
Yep.
On and off. So probably about 1,000 hours in total, 1,500 hours.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, that's a fairly quick build. A lot of people spend 2,000, 2,500 more, 5,000 hours. I know one guy who spent 10 years building his car, on and off evenings and weekends. So,
yeah, I think it's not a really big car.
Right.
It was the intricate things that took the longest. So building the outer skins of the body was relatively quick. I think we knocked out the back half of the vehicle, the outer skins, in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's quick.
So it was quick.
Yeah.
But then all the little things, it was the inner structures and lining everything up. And yeah, it took a bit of time.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find that the inner stuff is more fun or less enjoyable than the outer skin?
A lot of the time it's a ball ache.
Yeah.
It's you got to measure 4 or 5 times and make sure you've done everything correctly before you make that part, because it will change everything if you got it wrong.
That's funny. Because in a lot of ways, like you don't even see that stuff too. It's covered by carpet or paint or whatever other finishes somebody goes with. Like you don't even see that stuff, but it's so important. Like the doors have to hinge close. That's it. They have to latch.
100%.
But nobody cares.
To be strong.
Yeah, like people go, oh, pretty car, but nobody says, hey, nice door latch. Nobody says that.
You're right. But funny, the guys that like the cars the most, they'll see those small little details.
True.
So I'll spend a lot of time on trying to make those details as period correct as possible, because I'll feel better about it, and someone else might pick up on it, maybe.
That's your inner craftsman, right?
I think,
yeah.
I like making sure that I try and find perfection in that, in trying to make it as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
And it's the little details, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you ship worldwide, or was this somebody local to you?
Yeah, we do ship worldwide. If we get a client from, say, America or England or wherever, we build the cars and it gets shipped.
Amazing.
Out to the clients.
How do people typically find you?
Through social media. Someone's read an article in the UK in the Top Gear magazine, and they'll contact you, and that's how it goes, I think, the whole time.
Let's switch gears and talk about your Ferrari TRC 625. This thing, gosh, so excited to hear about this. My goodness, when did you start this build?
That one was seven years ago.
Was it really?
Yeah, it started then.
Wow.
That was my first real big build.
Yep.
So it took a hell of a long time to get everything right, because, again, you don't have much to work off of.
I think there's only 2 of those original cars ever made.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one is in a private collection and the other one is in a museum, so you can't get near them.
That's right.
So it was very difficult. Again, the artist skin was the easier part to make. It was the little details to try and get that right. And then it progressed from there. Then we painted it and we built the chassis for it and we assembled it. It kind of snowballed.
Yep. Yeah. Was it built on a legit Ferrari chassis, or did you guys have to hand fabricate that as well?
So it was a Ferrari 400 chassis.
Yep.
That had been shortened by the client already, and then we just made the rest of the structure to make it look like it was a TRC chassis.
Wow. So if this was 7 years ago and you just moved out of your shop 8 years ago, like this would have been almost the first build in the new space.
Yeah. So that was, yes, exactly.
Yep.
That was the first build in my new space. Yes.
Very cool, man. What a way to kick off the new location. My goodness. Yeah. Like, nice Ferrari. Cool. Let's do this.
It was a lot of fun. I must admit, it was. I think that car will always have a special spot in my heart. It's one that I got to see from beginning to end, and it came out relatively good. So
very cool. And when you were doing that, you said a lot of photography work, like a lot of work for photos. How did you guys come to gather enough data that you could confidently say, yes, this is the shape of this car?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours. I'll be honest with you, it was the most time consuming thing of, I think, every build, if you don't have a lot of material to work off of.
Right.
It's just researching, getting every single photo you can find in old magazines, online, which online is also quite a lie, because it's normally a 500 TRC that they're showing you, saying it's a 625. So
right. What's the difference?
There's little differences. Well, the 625 TRC was actually a 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
And the 500 was the V12.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also you had the Von Neumann's hot rod 65 TRC, the one with the different scoop on the bonnet.
Wasn't that a 250 under, like the guts of it were 250 TR?
So.
And they did something
I'm not even sure.
Okay.
I'm not even sure what was underneath. No, actually it was, he put a V12 in it. Yes, correct.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why he changed the hood scoop, because the trumpets couldn't fit.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny. Is the 250 body almost the same as a 625, or where do the differences actually lie? The 250 TR, the 500, and so on.
The nose is very different. Well, the shape of the nose. A lot of it's quite similar. I mean, the underpinnings were the same, pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty much just the body. I know the 250 TR was the one with the pontoon look.
Yep. And
then they closed it off because it was lifting the nose in the races, which then looked more like a 500. So yeah, it was quite interesting, that car. It's got a history there.
The 625 has kind of a scallop behind the behind the front wheels, right? Like it kind of
Yes.
curls in.
Yes, it curls in. It curls in, and then you got the two air scoops on the side, the extractors for the heat, which were different to the 500. The 500 had like almost like a triangular sort of shape.
Yep.
The Spider had a triangular sort of shape, and then there's just little odds and ends, and you've got to research so much to try and find out which one is the correct one for what car. So.
Right. Did you see that Petrolicious video on YouTube? And somebody said that they owned the 250 TR6, 625, 250. I don't know. There's some body style there that this person owned, and it was just like a spectacular view. Have you seen this?
No.
Search up Petrolicious 250/625, and this amazing video comes up. And the reason I was asking you about the differences between the two bodies is because I saw this video recently, actually, and because they called it both models, both the 250 TR and the 625, I was like, which one is it? I don't know.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool video. Well put together too.
Okay. No, I'll definitely search that.
Yeah. So what else about this car was really, really difficult for you? What were some of the hardest things that you had to overcome other than the design side, getting all the information together?
Is making that V12 and that chassis basically fit in and make it look like an original. I think that was the toughest part, because of the foot boxes and the tunnel for the gearbox and stuff like that. You kind of had to keep the shape and also make sure there's space for the drivers.
Right.
So that was the hardest part for me. That was definitely.
Because these weren't big cars.
No. And funny enough, this is quite a big car because it's on a 400 chassis. So
yeah,
I would say it's about 1.5 times the size of an original.
Very nice. I was going to say, have you ever thought about scaling a car up to fit somebody who's like 6'2" and all the stuff?
Yeah, that was that exact car.
Yeah,
scaled up because of the chassis. Yeah,
very cool. And then when you were doing the design, like, was it wireframe? Was it wood buck? Like, how did you shape, and what did you shape to?
Yeah, so we got a wood buck made. There's a guy in South Africa, in Cape Town, Kevin Agnew, car body bucks.
Yeah, I sent him a message on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super smart guy.
Yeah, great guy. And he made the buck for us. And then we took it from there. So you just got this wooden buck, and now you got to try and work out how everything's going to work out, how it's going to fit. And then we made the Leggera frame, basically cut away X amount of the buck's top, and then made the Leggera frame so that we could lay the aluminum body on it.
Nice. And no wire, no wire needed at all, other than for the Leggera frame when you got there.
Yeah, the only other wire that we used is certain aspects of the buck that you didn't want to cut away. You would make a wireframe for that, so that you'd have like an external wireframe or an internal, and then shape to that.
Yeah. Total build time, end to end?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't. That was long. That was, I would say, about 4,000, 5,000 hours in total.
Wow. And was it all you?
Most of it was me, and then at the end, it was my apprentices helping me with certain things. Like we had to make pedal boxes, and then we had to make the pedals look like the original and put them in the same place. So I had help on that with my guys. So in total, that's about the hours.
You're like, somebody just come and give me a hand, please. Oh my gosh, get in here.
It got like that. I promise you. It was like, really, please, just can this stop now? But it was worth it in the end. It really was.
What about the owner? What type of a person would purchase a vehicle like this? It's very special.
An amazing car guy. He owned a ton of Bugattis. We talk about pre-war Bugattis, and sold a lot overseas. And this was his dream car for 25 years. He'd wanted to build this car for 25 years. And I spoke to him a little while back, and he loves it. I mean, I think if he could park it in his bedroom, he would.
They're starting to do condominiums like that in over in the States, like in Florida and some other places. They're building condos, 30, 40, 50 stories up in the air. And these condos are sponsored by like Bugatti or Aston Martin. And they have an elevator inside to take your car all the way up to your condo on the whatever floor. It's amazing.
If I moved there, I think I'd do the exact same thing.
Right?
I would move into there 100%.
I want apartment number 6th floor, apartment number 25, and I want my 625 parked in the living room. That's it.
Oh, that's a dream, man. That's a
right?
absolute dream.
I've got a quote from your website. It's about being an artisan. So you said, an artisan is someone that works with their hands to create unique, functional, and or decorative items using traditional techniques. Artisans are masters of their craft. Explain this.
So, I don't know how to put it in. I believe that anyone that works with their hands, anything they make. So yeah. You might look at it and think it's not the nicest thing you've ever seen, but to him, that I call it the tip of the iceberg effect. Everyone always only sees what you can see. No one sees everything that went into it.
Yeah.
And that to him might be the best thing that he's ever done. And that's the journey of an artisan. I think as soon as he starts critiquing his own work and being humble enough to be critiqued, and then start building himself up and learning new skills and working through everything, I think that's when you start getting closer to being a master. I don't think in my lifetime I'll be a master. A master is someone who knows everything. I think I'll keep on learning till the day I die. I'll just be sort of an apprentice.
A student of the game, as they say.
Yes. I think that's the big thing with sheet metal shaping. We're all students, regardless of how good we are and regardless of how we look at our heroes. They still learn every day. Little tricks here and there. And I think that's what's so amazing about sheet metal. I think you can never hit the peak. There is no peak. And you're striving towards it. And I think that's where you have these amazing builders that they just keep on striving and they make strides and they know they just want to get better and better and better. And I think that's pretty much what an artisan is.
Wow, man, this has been so much fun. You're such a humble guy. For somebody of your skill level, you're so humble. And the fact that even something you just said there was the ability to critique and to be critiqued. I mean, a lot of people can't take criticism, positive or negative. And the fact that you even said that just shows to your true character of saying like, hey, you know what? I'm always learning. There's always something that I can do better, faster, stronger, whatever. And the fact that, you're able to produce the work that you've produced so far and still continue to learn and still continue to be humble is truly spectacular. So from me to you, from this side of the mic, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find out more about you and your work?
I'm on Facebook and on Englishwheel Fabrication and on Instagram on Englishwheel Fabrication. So that's generally where you can find me. If you want to speak to me, you can drop me a message. I try and get to every message. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks for tuning into the Sheet Metal Shaping Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, and tell a friend if you enjoyed this episode. And of course, we will see you on the very next show.